In this video, we're going to show you step by step how to create a suspended linear light fixture from start to finish from scratch, and it'll even have adjustable stem lengths as well as an emergency symbol on or off capability. Stay tuned. Let's get into it. Okay, so we are in just a blank project. I started from scratch, started it from a template. You can use the Revit built-in electrical template if you like. But from here, we're going to actually start creating from scratch this light fixture. So let me go to File, New. We want a new family. Start from step one here. And we are going to create a light fixture that is not hosted. That means it is just going to be floating in your model at the height that you would like. It's not going to have to attach to a ceiling or a wall or anything like that, because this is going to be a stem mounted fixture that we want to be able to control its height directly. So we don't want any metric. Let us go to Imperial and let's see, English Imperial, annotations, concept title. We want down here, we're going to find a light fixture. We don't want ceiling based. We don't want wall based. We just want light fixture, and this one here means it's not hosted. So let's open this. And what it does as a light fixture template, it gives us this little circle here called a light source. Now, if we apply an IES, Illuminating Engineering Society file to this, we can use it in some generic kind of, I'd say, average lighting calcs in Revit, if you will. So we're going to leave that in here, and it can be of different shapes. We're going to leave it as a circle right now. And so that's really what is in this that makes it a light fixture. Otherwise, there's not much else to it as far as a special template. We're going to start this by creating a skeleton or framework for the body of the linear light fixture. So this is just going to be kind of a box, but we're going to add a little bit of shape to it. The fixtures we create for our models they're not often fancy cross sections. We just want to get the generic idea that this is a linear type of fixture. It could be a round cross section. It could be a square. Let's just get right into drawing that. So we're in our reference level right now. And these built-in reference planes they're calling this one a light source axis left and right, and a light source axis front and back. I would consider right now we're kind of looking down at the top of the light fixture. So we're going to draw our planes in a box. So what we do is go to Create, and there's reference lines or reference planes. Reference lines we typically use for circles, and then reference planes we use for straight surfaces. So let's go reference plane, and I'm going to draw just a plane like that, and I'm going to draw another plane down here. That's, might say, the back and the front of the fixture since we're looking at the top. And let's also create, I can also just right click, say create similar. Let's do the left side and the right side. So now we have a box. We want to apply some dimensions to this box, and we want to create some parameters so that we can change this in our model, and we'll change it by type. So a type L1, maybe a 4-inch wide by 4-foot long fixture. And we want that to be a type variables. So let us go to a dimension and clear up top here at the quick access toolbar. You can see a line dimension, and we want a dimension from the left side to the right side. Click on those and click anywhere else. You can move this dimension wherever you want. And that's the dimension of those lines. So we want to call this up here a label. We'll give it a name. We'll give it a parameter name. We're creating this parameter. And it's going to be called fixture length. And I like to be a little descriptive here rather than just length, because length of what? Fixture length, again, it's going to be a type variable. So, for example, again, type A would be this length. It is grouped under the dimension heading, so we can find it. Say OK. And then we also want to dimension what you might call the width of the fixture as you're looking at the end of it. So click on that and call that parameter fixture width. Type under dimensions. Now, If I were to change these dimensions, you can see what happens. Now they're parameters and they're under dimensions. So fixture length, let's go 4 foot right here. And fixture width, we'll start wide. Let's go 1 foot. Now, what happened? If the dimensions are all over the place, I really need these to be centered on this fixture. So let's undo that. I need to fix these, make these centered. So the way you do that here is under dimensions, you do the same thing again, but make sure you click that center as part of your dimension, and then hit the little EQ to equalize it. EQ, this equalizes it. Architects often do that to show spacings. So that's what we're doing. Same thing here. There, off to the side, hit equalize, and we can move these dimensions out of the way. Now when we change the dimensions, fixture length 4 feet, fixture width 1 foot, we get things still centered. That's what we want. So that is the top of the fixture. Now we also want to look at the side view, and we could go to the front. Not much to see here, other than this ends up being the light source elevation, and we want that for it to work in a space within Revit. We want this to be right below the bottom of our fixture. So there's this thing here called reference level, and that's going to be the kind of the 0 spot of the fixture when it gets put in. We want that to be the bottom of the body of the light fixture. So I'm going to move this light source elevation to below that, and we can force that to be a certain dimension below the bottom of the fixture. Again, tie it to a dimension, start at what I call the strong reference point, start here, and we want this to move, and we can call this the light source distance. It's not something we would typically change much, but I just want to make sure we have this in here so that we can set it. And I'm going to just set that to like 1 inch, light source distance. I don't want to get too many parameters in here. It gets very confusing, but I think this one's important. Light source distance there. That forces it to be below our fixture. So we have a bottom of fixture, which is this existing reference level. We'll need a top of our fixture. So again, let's create a reference plane. And let's get it up here at the top of our fixture. And let us dimension that from the bottom to the top. And we will call this, it's at the top of the fixture, but the dimension we want to be called fixture length width. This is going to be height. It can be depth, height, whatever you want to call it. A type variable dimensions. Okay. So now we have the height of the fixture. Now we are ready to actually make an extrusion where we take a shape and we stretch it, extrude it out of a machine and make it. We want to have a little bit of a cross-sectional variation to this rather than a box. So I'm going to go to the right view over here under elevations right. So now I'm looking at the right end of my light fixture, and I want my extrusion to fill up this box. I want it to be that basic shape, and I'm going to round some corners. So what I start doing is I'm going to go under create, and you can see I can create an extrusion. There's other shapes I can do. I can do blends, revolve, sweep, swept blends. I can even make holes in things with this void. I'm going to do a simple extrusion, a single shape that I'm just going to extrude out to the width of the fixture, as you can see in that diagram there. So extrusion, and now I'm in what I would call sketch mode, edit mode, and you can tell that because you have an accept, finish it, or cancel edit mode. We have draw tools. So I'm going to use the rectangle tool to make it simple, and I'm just going to create a rectangle. I'm going to make this a little bit larger than my reference planes so that I can align them and then lock them. I want this to be locked. Now, I can lock them here while I'm in sketch mode, or I can make an extrusion and then lock the extrusion later. There's pros and cons to both. I tend to lock it in this mode because when I do certain other things, as you'll see, like the stems and circles, I have to lock them in sketch mode. So I just typically will lock them in sketch mode. Not always, but this one we will. But I'm not done drawing my sketch. I want to make these aligned. So I can go up here to the Align button, Align tool, click Align. And then what do I want to align to? I want to align to a reference plane and from that line. And I want to padlock it. That's a little padlock. I want to align to that, from there, padlock it. I want to align the top of the fixture, remember that. And I'm going to tab till I hit the actual reference plane. From there, lock it. And then finally, I want to align to here, from here, and padlock it. Okay, now, and what this did is it moved me out of my Modify Create panel. I can go back to that. Now I have my buttons. I want to continue changing this shape. What I want to do now is I want to fillet the corners. And this is a fillet arc tool. It rounds the corner, so I click on that tool. I'm still in sketch mode. Now up here, way in little tiny words up here, we've got a depth and we've got a radius, 1 foot radius. Well, in this fixture, if it's going to be like, you know, like a 2-inch tall fixture or something, my fillet, I don't want it that big. I want my fillet, let's say, I guess the thinnest fixture I might have is 2 inch. So I think a 1-inch fillet should do it. So 1 inch, click there, and it rounds the corners as you can see. And it's locked because I had already locked this sketch. Here, and we'll just continue to fillet these corners. And I missed one, try it again, there he is. So escape out of there. Now I have the shape that I want for a cross section. And I'll say I'm good with that. Now, the depth of this extrusion I didn't change. It was by default 1 foot, which means it's going to be like 1 foot into the page, into the screen. So now if I go to a 3D view, and let's get some stuff, you can see that I extruded that box. Now it extruded it a foot from where I started drawing. So now I need to pin the ends of this or lock the ends of this to my reference planes to make it dimensionally correct. So I'm going to go back to the reference level. Here's my extrusion. Click on it. You can see it's an extrusion up here, extrusion end. And now I need to tie the ends of this extrusion. Now I can go back to sketch mode if I want and do it there, but I'm just going to try it here, show you it works both ways. I'm going to align this end to the right end of my fixture and align to the left end to the left end. So let's just go to the Align tool, align to there, from there, line to there, and let's make sure we tab till we hit our extrusion, and then pin it. Now, that is pinned, these sides are already pinned from my right side view, if you recall, when we created the sketch. So I don't need to pin those. So there we go. Now let us test this skeleton, or flex it, we can call it. We're making it flex, bending it. So let's go to our 3D view, just because it looks pretty this way. Let's go here and let's change our fixture height from 8 inches down to 2 inches. See if it breaks. Now, here we go. The line is too short. What does that mean? It probably has to do with our 1-inch fillet. And 2 inches is just too tight for that to work because we would have no more line. So let's either change the fillet, or I'm just going to make this, let's just go 3-inch fixture height. I could go back, that looks fine. I could go back and redo the fillet. But we're going to do this. It's kind of an old school wrap looking fixture. So that's our light fixture, but there's no pendants, there's no stems. This thing is just floating in space, and that would be fine. This would work. Let's go ahead and save this for now. Save it as a family. We're going to call this suspended linear light fixture. All right, options, I only need one backup. Okay, save it. So there we go. Hey guys, this is Rob. If you're getting something out of this video, I'd sure appreciate you hitting that like button down below. And if you want more of this electrical only Revit content, go ahead and hit subscribe. Even leave a comment if you like. Thanks for watching. Now we want to start working on these stems. So let's go back to our reference level. We need to set some dimensions for these first with a skeleton of reference planes. Go to create. Here's reference plane. We're going to create an inset from the end of the fixture for these stems or pendants, aircraft cables, whatever you end up with. The suspension points. So this here is going to be from the end. So let us call this, and we go anywhere, call this a parameter. We want to be able to control this again within the type. Call it stem inset. It's a dimension. It's in under dimensions group. Stem inset. Now we want the same here. So let's dimension this one from here to here. I start at the point that I want to be remain constant, and then the second point I hit is the one that I want to move around. Now, do I need to create another parameter for this? No, I want these stem insets to be the same. I would typically not change the stem insets of either side. Now, if you're at a point where you might think these might be in a linear, arranged in a linear attached at the end fashion, you may want this stem to be inset and the other stem to be right at the joint. You can do what you want here. You can make stem inset 1, stem inset 2, and we'll see how that works later when I do different stem lengths. But for this case, I'm going to make this stem inset be the same. So now instead of creating a parameter, I'm just going to select one I've already made called stem inset. That will force that to be the same dimension. And I can change these stem insets here to be 4 inches from the end. There we go. So that sets that. Now this will end up being, this cross here is going to be the center of my stem that will extend up to the ceiling attachment point. I want my stem to be a circle. So now let's go to create. Now a reference plane is always a straight line. In fact, it's a straight plane, which is of course a surface that extends forever. Reference line, for a circle, I have to go to a reference line. And here you'll see I get my standard draw tools for a reference line. It's just going to be in 2 dimensions. So I need a circle reference line. I'm going to start at the middle, center, and go out. And I can make this whatever I want for now. Okay, that's a huge stem, right? 3 inches diameter. That's okay. We're going to change it. So now I want to, first of all, force this circle to always be attached to this center line, this intersection. So what I do is I click on this, and to help with that, go over to the right and you can say center mark visible. I want the center mark of this circle, hit click, and it becomes, you see this little cross. Now I have center marks. Now I can pin the center of this circle to my reference planes. The way I do that, the good old align tool. So I need to align this to here, from here, and padlock it. To here, from here, padlock it. There we go. Now this guy is attached to that cross section. So as I move this stem inset, the circle will follow. And let's just do that. Let's flex this. You need to test this as you go. If you end up at the end of your family and you've not tested it or flexed it along the way, and then you try to flex it and it just blows up, you won't know where you made a mistake. So this systematic testing procedure will, I guarantee you, help in the long run. Stem inset, let's go with a 6-inch stem inset. It moved, and both of them moved, and it moved that circle with it. So now that that's pinned to the center line, now I want to create a dimension for this. And it's not a linear align dimension. I need a diameter dimension. So let me go to annotate diameter dimension. And now if I click on this circle, it'll automatically throw a diameter in there, and I can put that wherever I like, whatever angle. And I like to kind of pull it out of here so it's not in my way. Now that reference line circle has a diameter, and I'm going to parameter this with a stem diameter. So I can change it. Now, a stem diameter, would I want that to be tied to the type of light fixture or as an instance, like A type L1 could have a different diameter. Typically, that's also a light fixture type parameter. So I'm going to leave it as a type. Again, you want to think how your users are going to use it. So now I'm ready to actually create a circular extrusion and lock it to this skeleton. So let's go to create, back to extrusion. And one thing I want to point out here is there's a work plane thing, set, show, viewer. This, if I hover over that, you can see that this will set which surface, if you will, I want to start my extrusion on. And for example, this one, they're showing you a slanted plane on that roof. If I wanted to create something sticking out of the roof, at that angle, I would need to set my work plane to that. In our case, all of our work planes are parallel with our fixture bottom. So it doesn't really matter because once I create an extrusion, I can drag the ends of that extrusion to be connected to whatever work planes I want. I just want to show that to you. Kind of an advanced thing you can do on more complicated geometries is set a work plane. But for now, we're fine with what we have. So we have a circle, and we want the circle at the center. And I'm going to pin it to there, but let's make it smaller for now. Now this is the point that I want to pin or lock this extrusion diameter to the skeleton that we've created of that circle. I can't do this once it's an extrusion, so I'm doing it in sketch mode. Now I go to my simple align tool. I want to align to that reference line from this circle and padlock it. Now I don't need to do anything with the center mark of my extrusion, any of that. If the reference line circle is already pinned to the center. So now that my extrusion is locked or pinned to the reference circle, I'm good to go. It will follow it around. Now I lost my finish tool because I jumped into a line, but go back up here to modify, create extrusion, get your window back. Now I can accept this. So now my extrusion, if I go back to my 3D view of this, and again, my dimensions in the way, I like to move this out of the way. So now I can see that my stem is an extrusion. It's a fat stem, and we'll fix that. Back to the reference level. Let's go ahead and change this stem just because it looks odd. Let's change the stem diameter down to, we're going to have a hefty 1-inch diameter stem. Now, just for your note, if you want to make this an aircraft cable, you can make that as tiny as you want. For right now, it's easier to see it at this. Now I want to make sure I tie the bottom of this extrusion to somewhere on my light fixture. So let's go to the front view. You can see my stem. Now what it did is it started this extrusion down here at the bottom of my fixture because I did not change that work plane that I was talking about. But I can simply now align the bottom of this extrusion to the top of the fixture. Good old align tool, align to that, and make sure I'm hovering over my little extrusion here, there, and then I can padlock it. So now it's forced. Now the top, I get these little arrows, which means that I can move these around at will. I'm going to tie the top of that to a dimension here in a minute, but first I want to copy all of this over to here so I don't have to recreate it. It might be good practice to recreate it for yourself. You might do that, but for this demonstration purpose, I'm just going to be lazy and copy it. So what I can do is I can copy everything. Just hover over this. I can see I've got two things. So I have my circle and I have my extrusion that I'm copying. Copy from here, hit the center point. Let's go over to here. There. Now I need to tie this reference line circle center point to this cross section. As you can see, now it's already pinned up and down, but it's not pinned right and left. So let us go to align there, and let's get that locked. So now we are locked. And if you look at our 3D view, both stems are there. Now this is funny because the stem diameter is actually drawn down on the bottom, but that's okay. Still works. And we better tie the stem diameter of this one to that as well. Again, since I copied it, it didn't copy the dimension. So let us tie a dimension, annotate diameter, Now I want to make sure I'm not on the extrusion. Now see right there, if I hover over it, I don't want to dimension my extrusion. I want to dimension my reference plane. So tab until you get the reference line right there. Now I'm on a reference line. You can see how that works. Now I've dimensioned that reference line, and I want this to be the stem diameter. There we go. And let's get this out of the way. So now we have things all pinned to their proper pieces. Last thing I want to do on this geometry now is get the top of these constrained. Back to my front view. Let's get either create from scratch or create similar. Let's get a stem length top to that, and I want a different stem length for this guy. Now, why would I want two different ones? Well, imagine now that we're looking at a cross section of a room, and let's say we have a sloped vaulted ceiling, and these are put in this direction. I'll want this stem to hit the ceiling there, and I want this stem to hit the ceiling there. So I'm going to leave these as instance parameters, the height, because each type L1 fixture in my room may be in a different location and need different stem lengths. That is a valid instance by instance parameter. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make these independent, and we're going to make them instance parameters. So simple as align. Before I align them, I want to put dimensions on them. So let us go to our quick access aligned dimension from the top of the fixture to the top of the stem. And I'll call this, I need two different ones. So I'm going to call this stem length 1. You could go right, left, but that doesn't mean anything in the model. So stem length 1, this one will be an instance. The other guy gets to be stem length 2. From the top of the fixture to the top of the stem. And he needs his own parameter, stem length 2, instance. Okay. Now we can align these with the align tool to there, from there, lock it. Align to there, from there, lock it. And you click on it, you can see I can still, if I do that with just the extrusion, I get an error. Constraints are not satisfied, which means that the top of that is constrained to this line. I move the extrusion without moving the line, and that's an error. It's constrained. So to move that, I really need to move this. And you can see as I move this up and down, the extrusion follows. Let us save that. Okay, there we go. We have a valid 3D light fixture with variable stems. We could just put this in our model and call it good. There's a few other steps I need to do to finish this up. First of all, we want this to be connectable electrically, so we can't forget our electrical connection. So let us get that in there. I just put that on the reference level. You can put it anywhere. It'll attach itself to a plane. So if I go to create up here, under here, you can see different connectors. I could actually put a conduit connector onto this if I need to show 3D conduit. We don't typically model conduits that small to light fixtures, for example. So I'm not going to add that. But I do need the electrical connector, which has the smarts, the voltage, amps, watts, that kind of thing. And it attaches to a plane. So I want to go to my create electrical connector. Now work face, it's not letting me pick the face of this fixture. I can pick the ends. I can pick the light source, but let's go to a work plane, and it will ask me for a name of a work plane. I've got axes, I've got the light source, but I'm just going to attach it to the reference level, the basic, the bottom of the fixture level. That's fine. Say okay, and it attaches there, and it's this big circle with a cross. Click on that, it's an electrical connector. Now I need to set this up so that these parameters are available in the model. Right now, if I was to just set these here and leave it, when I put this light fixture into my model, I cannot change the voltage. I can't change the wattage of the fixture, the VA. So that's not very useful to me. I need to map these, I call them, associate them, map them to new type parameters that I can get to in my model. So the way we do that, we are going to first set it to balanced. Now, what I mean by that is the load will be balanced across multiple phases. Most fixtures like this, interior fixtures, are a single phase, a 120 or 277 volt. However, sometimes for some reason, in maybe not this fixture itself, but other fixtures, you might need a line-to-line fixture, a 208 volt light fixture, 240 volt light fixture, 480 volt single phase light fixture. So I like to make that a balanced, so that if it's multi-pole, it shares the load across both, like a light parking lot fixtures end up being higher voltage. But the number of poles I want to be able to adjust as a type parameter inside my model. So number of poles, I want to map this to a family parameter. Now there's no family parameters for this yet, so I need to create one. And I'm going to call, I can say number of poles. I'm just going to say poles. It's a good shorthand, poles. It is going to be a type. I want my type L1 to all be the same number of poles. Now, where am I going to group this parameter under? Which heading in the type parameter list is it going to be? I want to put this just under electrical. Now, there's all kinds of different subcategories. I just want it to show up under an electrical heading. So number of poles goes there. Okay. Now, you can see it grayed out here, and there's a little equal sign. That means it's been associated with a family parameter. The power factor, I'm not going to worry about that. Load classification, I definitely want to be able to change that in my model. So let's associate that or map that to a family parameter. Again, we need to create one. Go down to new parameter. Type in load classification. Make it the same. It is going to be a type. It's going to be under, now see, it tried to just put it under loads. I want these all grouped under electrical. Say okay. And you can see here, if you go up here to the top left, family types, you'll start seeing these electrical. We've got load classification popped up and poles popped up. Now wattage comments, again, is just text. It's not actual watts or VA. So some of these are just text. We need to add a few more. Okay. Let us look at, again, let's click on our electrical connector. We want to get voltage as a family parameter. So click on that. Voltage. Now it already knows, if you look at this discipline electrical type of parameter, electrical potential, which is voltage, it already knows that this is that kind of parameter, but it lets us group it where we would like. That one went to electrical engineering by default. So I would have had these parameters in all three different headings. I like to group them in under electrical. It's a type. Okay. Now the apparent load, the VA. Volt amps. Let's map that also. Now there's already a family parameter in this light fixture family called apparent load. So we can use that. Say okay. And then power factor. I don't typically have to change the power factor of a light. We just leave it at 1. So we're good there. So now we have a group of parameters. Now the electrical loads, because I accepted the one that was already there, it put under loads. Now I can go in here and hit this pencil and edit that, but it's a built-in parameter which won't let me move it. So I'm stuck. That's one of the hazards of using a light fixture template, is it puts it where it wants, which is fine. We can live with that. Save it. Are we done? We could be done. We like to do a few more steps. If I was to bring this into my model, let's go ahead and do this now just to see what it looks like. I'm saying load into my model, and it wants to insert it into my first floor lighting view. Now, I see a cross where it would be, but I can't see the light fixture. Well, it's because we've got some view range set up in this. I'm in a model now, and the view range set up in this model. So I need to get the fixture above the floor. Right now it's elevation from level 1, it's at 0. It's on the floor, which I can't see in this setup. So let's go ahead and put it at 8 feet. Hit 8, enter. Now there's my light as I scroll in. Now I can put this light fixture right there, escape out, and there's my light. The boundary of it happens to be the boundary of my extrusion. It's showing the extrusion edge. And if I was to hit 3D, there's my light fixture. Looks great. And there it is. Here's a south view of it. And now you can see my stems are adjustable. And now it puts it right in the middle, but that stems for there and this stems for here. So now I have complete control of where those stems end up, which is what I wanted. I can click on it. I have a power connector, so my electrical connections are working. If I go here to my type in here, there's my load that shows up, my load classification. I can pick lighting. It's one single pole. I can put in 120 volt. I can put my load. Let's say it's a 30 VA fixture. Let's say it's a 30 VA fixture. I've got all my type dimensions. I can make this fixture width, let's say I'll make it 4 inches. A little skinny guy. There. So I had thin lines on this whole time because it's easier to model in thin lines sometimes, but there's a light fixture. Now, on some fixtures, we like to not rely on the extrusion itself as the border, but we want it to be more of a symbol. We also like to have a circle for a virtual connection point that can be darkened as an emergency light fixture. So I have a few more things that I want to do to this. Let's go back to edit the family and go back to the reference level. Now I want to create my own symbol around this. It's not so as important here as it is maybe on a recessed fixture, where I have a symbol that has like a diagonal line across it, to look like a certain symbol. But as practice, I want to draw a symbol. And I also need to control, when does the extrusion show? You can change the view detail of your view you're looking at by coarse, medium, and fine. If I don't want the extrusion to show up in the coarse view, like a plan view, then I can change that. And we will start doing that. Let me draw first. Get this guy out of the way. Let me draw first what I mean for a symbol. So I'm going to go to annotate, symbolic line. These only show up in the view that I insert the fixture in, and only if the fixture ends up being parallel to my floor. So now this can be an issue with hosted fixtures where you apply them to a vaulted ceiling and it slants, then you won't see your symbol. But in this case, these will always be parallel to the floor. So symbolic line. And we have a couple different things. I'm just going to go with lighting fixture, type of line. That's a simple rectangle. I'm just going to put a rectangle right over top of my extrusion. Now I want to lock that to what? The extrusion? No, I want to lock this symbol line to my reference planes. Always lock things to your reference planes, the skeleton, not to other geometry. So, which means, because I have a bunch of stuff stacked, it gets confusing. I want to align to the end from the end of my symbol. Now hover, okay, now I'm doing symbolic lines. I've hovered over. If I were to hit tab, now I'm hovering over the extrusion. I don't want that. I want to hover over the symbolic line. Do that. Same thing here. Align to here, hover over. What am I getting? Symbolic line, good. Align over the symbolic line, good. And then align this to the symbolic line, good. Now again, in this kind of fixture, you won't see much of a difference. But now, I want to actually, I don't want to see this extrusion in a coarse view, which is what I set my floor plans to. So how can I fix the visibility of this? Now, I don't want it visible or not. I actually want visibility graphics to determine how I see this extrusion. So, okay, first of all, I want to display the extrusion in 3D views, and do I want to show it in the plan? No. Do I want to show it on a front and back elevation, left and right? Yes. But I don't want to see it. Now, I can also affect it by what detail levels. I don't want to see it on coarse. So what that means, now, if I was to load this into the family, you want to save changes? No, let's just load it in, overwrite. Now, I see the light fixture, and it ends up being just the symbol. And now I see the extrusion in a south elevation. Again, this doesn't look much different. I know it doesn't make sense. But for other kinds of light fixtures, I may want a different symbol. Like if you watch my exit sign, I'll put a card up top to help you get to my exit sign that I created. Its symbol looks entirely different than its extrusion. It's a circle symbol for a rectangular extrusion. So that is what becomes more apparent using a symbol. And my symbol will scale here, will scale with the light fixture. So the symbol will be the proper size. Let's go further on. One more thing I want to do here is deal with the emergency symbol. We like to use a filled-in circle or a filled-in light fixture or something to indicate that this fixture is attached or contains some kind of a backup element. It may have a battery backup in it, or it may be attached to a generator or inverter circuit, something that clearly indicates that it is an emergency light fixture. So what I need to do is create an annotative symbol. Annotative means that no matter what scale my finished plan is in, the symbol will be the same size. It'll be an 1/8-inch circle, no matter what scale my drawing's at. So we need to create a new family. This one is going to be annotative. So let us go up to our English Imperial. We're here in the US. Annotation. We want a generic annotation. There's a lot of tags and other things here, but we want a generic annotation. Open that up, and you get this little note that says change the family category to set the appropriate annotation type. We're fine with generic annotation. Insertion point is the insertion of these planes, and then delete it before using. Okay, the insertion point is the center of the two reference planes. I'm just going to create a simple circle that can be filled in. Create. Now, I'm not going to change the dimension of this anywhere. I don't need parameters to change the dimension. So in this case, I don't even need reference lines. I'm just creating a circle. So let's go to line. Now, I could just create a filled-in circle and be done, but I want my circle to show up whether it's filled in or not. You'll see how that works. Go to circle, center. Now, I want it to be an 1/8-inch diameter. I'm going to put a diameter on it, but I don't need to make it a parameter. So that I can change that to be, if I click on that, then I can change this to be 1/8 inch. That's like paper space. I want this to actually end up being 1/8 of an inch. And let's get this out of the way. Okay. So we need to turn on the center mark, visible. Let's align it to there, from there, lock, to there, from there, lock. I want it tied there. And then I also want to be able to have a filled in solid piece. So I'll go to create. Now what I'm doing here is I'm going to call a filled region, like a hatch. Filled region. And what kind of filled region? I click on that, it's going to be a solid black. I want it also to be a circle. Now, instead of drawing a separate circle, I can use this thing called pick lines. Creates a line based on an existing wall line or edge. So if I already have a circle, I can just use pick line, click that, and that will automatically make it the same circle. And I'm going to pin that. I'm going to pin that to the diameter of my circle because I want it the same. And say OK. There's my filled in box. Now it got thick because of line types. Go back to thin lines and you'll see we're OK. Now this filled in region, if I can get to it, I'm on a line. I need to get to my filled in region. So tab once. Now there, I'm in my filled region. I want to make the visibility of this have a parameter. I want to be able to get to this filled in region. So under visible, I need to go to the right and associate it or map it, again, like we did before, with a family parameter. Create a family parameter. I'm just going to call this emergency. And it's going to be a yes, no type of parameter. Yes, emergency, no for visibility. And I'm going to put this under graphics. Now this, not all of my L1s may be emergency. Maybe some will be attached to a generator, some won't. So this has to be an instance by instance parameter, emergency or not. Okay. Now we have family parameter called emergency. The default is on. I'm going to make the default off. Let us save this as a emergency symbol. It's just a symbol. One of those. Save it. Let us load it into our project. Now, which project do we want to load it into? We have the full project, or we just want to put it into our actual light fixture, not the project. We're putting it into the light fixture. Can't create this kind of element in this view. Oh, I'm in a 3D view, so I can't do it. Let's go to our reference level. Now, under families, I should have an annotative symbol that's an emergency symbol. There it is. Drag it into my light fixture, place it right in the middle. Now, there's two pieces of visibility over here now. I have the overall visibility of the entire symbol. And then I have the visibility of just the emergency, the filled in portion. I always want the circle visible, so I don't need to map this, but I do want to map the emergency part of it, the little filled in part, to a parameter. So I need to type in, again, emergency. So it's a bit confusing because there's two different things that can be visible. The entire symbol or just the emergency's filled in portion. So that, again, that is an instance. Okay. So I should be able to get to this and turn it on or off. Now, what I did is I don't think I put it, I left it under other. So let's go edit that and we will put that under graphics. There we go. So if you forget to do it, you can come back and do that. So now I should be able to turn that on and off under graphics, turn it back, turn the emergency on. And that seems to work. Okay. Let's make it off by default. I'd also like to set some other defaults. Yeah, the 120 is good for a default 30. There we go. Those are some good defaults. So now let's save that and let's bring it. Yes, let's replace it. Load it into our project, overwrite it, turn off thin lines. So now we have the fixture looks like that. There's our circle, which is a connection point. This can be turned on and off as an instance right here. So now we have our fixture. It's adjustable. Stem lengths. It is connectable electrically. We are all set, ready to go. Hope you got something out of this, and until next time.